Are you an investigative professional? Did you know you can find the best private investigator resources using investigatorstoolbox.com? This resource community was built exclusively for licensed investigators and investigative professionals. You can network directly with members, educate yourself through free webinars and blogs, and even create your own customizable research library. Membership starts for as little as 49 cents a day. Download the Investigator's Toolbox app or visit our webpage at www.investigators-toolbox.com.
Is a good case management system keeping you from taking your business to the next level? Crosstracks is the premier case management system for the investigative community. They're the only SOC 2 certified case management software available. Visit crosstracks.com, tell them you're a listener, and save even more. Get a plan in place for the new year to grow your business to the next level. Are you in the New York metro area and are looking for work? Satellite Investigations is currently looking for a full-time field investigator. Visit Matt's profile on LinkedIn for more details and the links in the show notes. Good luck.
Be ready to attack Rock Ridge at noon tomorrow. Here's your badge.
We don't need no stinking badges. Oh, no.
Welcome to PI Perspectives. Today we welcome Florida PI Mark Murnan. Mark is the second half of Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee YouTube series. His better half, Wendy, also stars in the show. Today, Matt and Mark tackle video statement taking and the challenges new technology brings when using that format. The guys discuss the pros and cons of trying to implement this new tool for Investigators Toolbox. See what I did there? If you are watching the video version, you will notice the first 12 minutes or so was missing a video feed. Well, PI Magazine's 2021 Investigator of the Year forgot to turn on the record button for this one. But the video does pick up after the break. Matt, I think I might need a bonus for producing this next episode. But all joking aside, this is some great content. So please welcome Mark Murnan and your host, private investigator, Matt Spare.
And welcome everybody to this week's edition of PI Perspective. This is Matt Spare, your host. Today I am in snowy New York as we record this, and we're talking to somebody in sunny Florida. I want to welcome Mark Murnan to the program. Mark, how are you?
Great, Matthew. Great. How's the Great White North up there?
It's pretty white today. So yeah, we got a little storm coming in. It's actually not too bad. It is what it is, and we're dealing with it. And you're in the sunshine, and I was in the sunshine yesterday down in Destin. I went to visit the guys down at Crosstracks. So now I'm dealing with that. So Complete Legal Investigations is your business. Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee is a great YouTube show that you do with your wife. Tell me a little bit about the show, and then tell me a little bit about the business.
Wendy and I have been partners since 2003. I started the company in 2001. I left the federal public defender, and in 2003, she came to work for me. Apparently lost her mind.
Right.
Came to work for
Exactly.
me. I told her, the first year I remember she came to work for me, and I gave her a debit card. I said, look, if you play your cards right a year from now, I'll give you the PIN number. And I have been working for Wendy ever since.
Of course, exactly.
So Wendy is the reason we're still in business 20 years later. So
yeah. But, I don't know if I envy it, or I don't know how I feel about the whole spouse thing. And I do know, Karen Dean Beers, like there are a few out there, folks that do the husband-wife team. My wife has told me like many years, she's like, let me help you with the business. Like, let me get involved with doing things. And we homeschool our kids, right? And I got a bunch of kids. So I was like, no, you have a job. You're good. So
I could not pay to replace you.
Yeah.
I think it works for us because Wendy is a certified paralegal. So she came out of the legal profession. I think if she had been a teacher or a nurse, it might not have worked as well. But she, we were very similar in work background. So it works for us. It's great if you can do it. It's not always a solution, but for us. And I think Investigators in Cars kind of came off as we hired a social media consultant that says, you guys would be great.
Look at that. Awesome.
So she helped us kind of develop the whole premise. And we just shot it from the car and did very well. And we're very excited about it. And the main thing is putting up content. Yeah. So we try and keep the content.
I was always curious. Did you ever get a letter from Jerry?
Actually, Matt, that was kind of the objective.
Yeah.
My claim to fame was a cease and desist letter from Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So yeah, comedians in cars getting coffee. We just kind of riffed off of that.
Yeah, why
That's
not?
really when people ask, well, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I drive around, drink coffee, and ask stupid questions.
Right.
And that's the PI's job description.
Yeah, and for us all, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to get into subject matter later, but today we're talking about that world kind of moving virtually, and how we're doing now, asking stupid questions online. It's being recorded, so
virtual realm.
We're going to get into that in a little bit. But yeah, the whole husband-wife thing. Before we move on from that, I think about like when I talk about my day to my wife, and it's just like, sometimes she's like, tell me about it, honey. And other days she's just like, ugh, really? All right. Yeah. Now we're going to listen to this nonsense for a bit. And, just trying to understand, what that dynamic is with two people that actually do the same things. Like, do you ever like not talk about work?
There are times. Now we're at a really very sweet season of our life where we have, adult children. Now we're having some grandchildren. So,
right.
But we do, our lives overlap so much. And really that was one of our dreams, was to be able to work together.
Right.
And when the Lord opened up an opportunity to do that, we ran with it. But Wendy we did a lot of criminal defense work, and Wendy did a lot of civil work. And then she started doing mitigation on death penalty cases.
Right.
Kind of the time frame where I was kind of getting out of criminal defense. She really dove in and really built up a good practice in mitigation defense, which can be very emotionally involving.
Yeah.
And it can be a strain, but she does such a great work with it, and she's so organized, and she's very left-brained. I'm very right-brained. So for us, it's a really perfect fit.
So between the two of you got one working brain. That's fantastic.
One working brain. Actually, hers is fully working. Mine's only about a quarter. So
There you go.
Brain and a quarter.
It's a Florida thing, man.
Yeah, it is totally.
Well, that's great, man. It's good that you can count on one another to do that, and seeing it work. And I kind of had mentioned Karen and Dean, because they're the first two that come to mind. That
we
day.
just had lunch with them. We were out in Colorado visiting our son and daughter-in-law and our new grandson out there, and we managed to slide up to where they're at in North Colorado. Had lunch with them, and Dean and Kathy have been great. Dean and Karen have been great motivators for us as well. Kind of setting the track for other people like that. Plus all the work that he does for NCISS.
And those two are
investigators worldwide.
Yeah.
So he's a great. They're a great blessing to our profession.
Yes, Phil and Yin Johnson, another one that comes to mind.
Yes,
our international friends. Shout out to those folks across the pond, because I know they're watching. So. Yeah. Good
to have you guys with us.
Yeah. So another one, and they've been doing it for a long time. It just fascinates me. How do you just turn it off and just leave?
And none of our kids want to get into business with us. We got 4 adult children, very smart, college, the whole thing. And
right.
We hired 2 of them, and it wasn't a good fit for some reason. But we thought, well, succession, we'd have the kids come up in the business, but
sure.
Just didn't happen, and they're happier that way. And frankly, we are too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a unique profession.
Yeah,
it is a calling. I think it is. I see the investigative profession as a calling.
Yeah,
you're outfitted for it. People who do it. They're enthusiastic. They love what they do. Every day is different.
Yeah.
You're not in an office. You're not in a courtroom all the time. You're out talking to real people under all kinds of different circumstances. So that's been, I think, one of the best decisions I ever made, was not going to law school and staying in the investigative profession.
So I was in the same boat. And I've talked about this before on the show, so I won't go into huge details, but I had that choice, that fork in the road, right? Go to law school, incur, at the time it was about $120,000 worth of debt to become an attorney. Or start my own business, right? And I've always had that entrepreneurial heart, where I wanted to do it. Yes, I could be an attorney and start my own firm,
right?
But I would go into the courthouses and see all the attorneys and be like, wow, how am I going to be different from any of these schlubs? These guys that just look miserable standing online in the county clerk's office, all disheveled and this and that. And I'm like, I really have this passion for helping people, and I have this passion for that interaction, that back and forth, that why did something happen? How did it happen? Right. So if you have that inquisitive mind, you're going to succeed in the investigation world, because you have that fire and desire to push it forward. And, I made the choice to work on the plaintiff side because I felt like I'd be helping people, folks that have been injured, which is we had talked about this offline before we started. Not a lot of investigators take advantage of that platform, that vertical, as John Hoda would say, working on, the plaintiff attorney, and there's a real market for it.
There is. And I think I was more, I did not have the same altruistic motives of trying to help people. I just realized that it was incredibly lucrative.
That too, yes.
And that the defense attorneys, they'll pay, but they're paid by the insurance company, and the insurance company sets the rates. So to me, it was just, I wanted to go running a business. I want to go financially where it was the most lucrative. Yeah. Plus my criminal defense skills that I'd acquired through, many years in that area perfectly suited me for the plaintiff. And I found that the plaintiff attorneys were much happier with the level of work we were doing. Yeah. The expectations were so much lower on the plaintiff bar than they were over on the criminal defense.
Yeah. And it's a different animal because, you're dealing with somebody who they have a fiduciary responsibility as far as the expenses go. Right. And they're laying the money out. So they're not getting it until it could be a couple of years before they get their money back. So, they are going to be a little cautious on that end. However, they will pay you promptly. And one of the problems I had with defense, and I did a little bit of defense when I started, was that waiting 200 days to get paid, or, the adjuster going, well, the law firm never authorized your services through us. So your bill that's $5,000, we'll give you $3, take it or leave it. Right.
Exactly.
So that actually happened to me a few times. And I was like, you know what, this is nonsense. Yeah. I'm not doing that,
No, it is. And there is an entrepreneurial bent to plaintiff law that doesn't exist in the defense or the criminal defense sector because they bill by the hour. Yeah. Criminal defense lawyers will do a flat fee, but it's a flat fee and that's all they get. Yeah. The plaintiff bar, they figured out that they front the costs. Yeah. They're in it to win it. They don't get they want to get to a settlement, right? And so it's geared toward that, almost like it is very entrepreneurial. Yeah. They're fronting the money, they absorb the cost, they take the risk, and they get the reward.
Yeah, and we had a game-changing change in the retainer agreements in New York State probably about 7 or 8 years ago now, where their settlement fees, their 1/3 fee that they collect, is based upon the original amount now. It used to be it was based upon the amount that was remaining after they recovered their expenses. So if it was the remainder of it, if it was $100,000 settlement and they paid $10,000, they were getting their 1/3 on $90,000. Now the way it is they're still getting their 1/3 on 100, even though they're recovering their expenses. So it takes more money out of the plaintiff's pocket, but it makes the attorney more willing to spend money because they know that if they can gain leverage and liability early on, the chances of them having to litigate are that much slimmer. So it really helped my industry and folks that understood that. And as an investigator, understanding that when I'm marketing, like, hey, are you aware of this, thing? Because some of them weren't aware, and they're like, "What, really?" I was like,
"Sometimes you're educating your
clients." So I was like, "Spend the money, bro. You'll get it back. It'll work.
Don't be cheap."
Yeah. Well, you don't want to say that on a sales call. So,
man, spend the money.
Yeah. And things are changing. And you had talked earlier about having a passion, and yours was driven on the entrepreneur wise, but you also do give back to this industry, and you have training manuals, you have things that you provide. So tell me a little bit about that stuff and what you do for the investigative community.
Well, what we did back in 2005, we opened up the company in 2001. Wendy came with me in 2003, and we were having some extraordinary success. I had come out of the state public defender and the federal public defender system in the 80s and the 90s. And so we just knew a ton of lawyers, and Wendy knew a lot of civil attorneys. So we were growing very, very quickly. And we did not have systems in place to absorb the growth and maintain the quality of work product that we had done to get the clients in the first place. We had a good product. We had steps that we took on each case, and we were getting good results in state and in civil, criminal and civil courts. So we were getting more clients by referrals. We were also marketing, but we did not have systems in place to have the infrastructure to absorb more cases.
Right.
So we had a consultant come down, a business consultant come down and speak at a local FALI meeting, Florida Association of Licensed Investigators. And she posed a very interesting question. She said, if your business doubled or tripled in the next 12 to 24 months, could you do the work and maintain the quality that you do that you do now? And the answer for us was no.
Right.
So we started creating systems, processes, procedures for taking on more business and maintaining the quality of the work product. And we wrote manuals. Wendy and I spent 4 years writing step-by-step procedures, systems, processes for case intake, administration, human resources, investigative procedures, and we wrote it all out. So when we hired a new investigator or a new intern or a new bookkeeper, we handed that person a manual.
That's great.
So we wrote those manuals in 2005 to 2008.
Right.
And then a couple of years ago, we decided our new consultant, or we have another consultant in social media, she said, why don't you package those?
Right.
Put those into manuals. So we did. We've got 6 manuals now on our website, The Profitable PI, and they are designed for private investigators who want to build a business either with employees or subcontractors, and to reduce the onboard time by providing your new hire with a specific manual.
Sure. That's great.
That includes research, employee, subcontractor manual, marketing to plaintiff attorneys is one of them. Yeah. So we wrote those manuals. We are starting to market them to the different PI associations, and that's been very successful. We're very grateful.
What are the price points on those?
I think we charge anywhere from $30 to $45. I think the procedure manuals and the employee and subcontractor manuals are $45, yeah. And the marketing manuals and the silver bullet are $29.99 or whatever.
That's great. Super affordable. I mean, it's almost like
super affordable. You can download them. You don't have to wait for print. You can just download them, print up what you want there, and have it available.
Fantastic. So we're going to jump out and take a quick break. And when we come back, I really want to dive into the topic. We were going to be talking about taking statements, witness statements over vehicles like Zoom and all that. So everybody sit tight, and we'll be right back.
Don't let asset investigations become a hassle for you. Let the professionals at J.T. Palmer & Associates, Inc. get you the information you need. We are a team of research specialists dedicated to providing you the intelligence that you're unable to locate through public databases. We have national and international resources available to provide accurate results to assist you in your asset investigations, and in a timely manner. We work tirelessly to uncover exactly what collectible assets someone has. Whether you're investigating a business or an individual, our dedicated research team employs a range of techniques to bring the investigation to a conclusion. All information developed over the course of these searches is obtained in an ethical, legal, honest, professional manner. When you need asset investigations done right, turn to J.T. Palmer & Associates. You can contact our team by visiting our website at jtpalmerassociates.com or call 800-808-0078.
Registration is open for the first annual Security and Licensed Investigator Conference in Augusta, Georgia. Gain skill and knowledge from top-tier speakers. You'll learn from the industry's leading professionals in security and investigation on the following topics: practical aspect of death investigation, perimeter and facility security, organized crime investigations for private investigators, negligent security investigations, crimes against disabled adults and the elderly, CADE, CADE, active shooter mitigation training, how to engage your federal law enforcement partners, investigating officer-involved shootings, and ethics for private investigators. Learn more by visiting cga-solutions.com. That's cga-solutions.com. See the link in the show notes. Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the Investigator's toolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Get the latest issue of PI Magazine, available online or by hard copy. Visit PIMagazine.com to learn more.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is Matt Sperry, your host. Today we are here with Mark Murnan from Florida. Mark, how are you?
Doing great here. Loving it. We got the Honda Classic in our backyard. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah. I 70 yesterday, 30 today for me. It is what it is. I never to advertise it, but we are very blessed down here. Absolutely. Definitely. So the topic of the day, what we wanted to talk about, stems from a conversation you and I had probably about 3 or 4 months ago. We were connected on LinkedIn, and you had reached out to me and said, hey, this whole video statement thing, like, what's your take on this?
Yeah.
And there have been some things back and forth in New York here, and we were able to chat about it. And I said, this would be kind of interesting to do on a show. We should probably do a show. So here we are today doing a show.
There we are.
So why don't you relate to me a little bit your experience, and then I'll chime in with mine on doing these video statements and how it came about for you.
Yeah, we as we were mentioning, we do a lot of work with plaintiff attorneys, and a lot of recorded statements. I've done probably a few thousand of them over the past 20 odd years.
Florida is a one-party state or a two-party state?
It is a two-party state. So you do have to have consent of the witness. And so I have a preface to every single statement I do. It says, this is Mark Murnan. I'm a private investigator. I want to inform you, I'm a private investigator. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm not an insurance adjuster. I work for Attorney John Doe, and he represents the plaintiff, blah, blah, blah. Right. Do you understand I'm recording this conversation? Am I recording it with your permission? And then we dive into the formatted statement. And then I wrap it up in conclusion. Do you understand I've been recording this conversation? Have I been recording it with your permission? So I've got the statement sandwiched with.
Oh, so you're bookending. That's smart.
Yeah.
See, I don't do that. I did it in the beginning, state your name, and that you're being recorded. And New York is a one-party state, but sometimes we'll have to call Florida or Pennsylvania or Connecticut, and they are two-party states. And let's riff on another question here, because it will relate a bit to the digital part of it, or the video part of it. What happens if you're interviewing somebody and you're in a one-party state, but you're calling a two-party state, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. Every time I use the same format, because I just presume, without knowing each state, I just presume we're in a two-party state. Yeah. And my position is that I want the witness to be cognizant that we are recording this. And I tell them it's a recorded statement. It's going to go to who it's addressed to, who I represent, because I don't want there to be any confusion after the fact as to who I represent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a consequence too of many, many years of criminal defense work, where in the past, I've been accused of, he said he was a police officer. Mm-hmm. So I went to great pains to develop a business card that doesn't look anything like a cop's.
Yeah. Right.
I came out of the state and federal government, and the stakes were even higher in federal court. So I made sure that my business cards reflected that I was with the federal public defender and not with the FBI.
Right. Nothing badge looking like on that.
No, not a thing, man.
So does Florida require you to carry badges, or allow you to carry badges?
No, we don't.
See, New York, we're not allowed. We're not
You're not allowed to have a badge. We don't need no stinking badges, man.
Exactly. Right. Good callback. I saw that movie was like 30 years old or something. And there's recently somebody said that. Yeah.
I had a badge when I was with the federal public defender. The thing was huge. Yeah. And the only thing it got me was I was able to flash it to a motel owner, and he would be impressed. Yeah. And it got me into the South Florida Fair one time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing the badge of. And I didn't know how to do the flip. I'd never been a cop, so I didn't know how to do the flip. I actually showed it to a guy and I dropped the wallet. Right. Completely lost its dramatic impact.
You know that movie Blazing Saddles was the first R-rated movie that I watched. Yeah, good job, Dad. Like that was, yeah, sure. Come on, let's go watch that movie.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, but we don't. I no matter who it is, I want to make sure that I'm sandwiching the bookending the statement to let them know and to remind them at the end that we've been recording it. So it just is a format. So I have a written format that I use for all my witness statements. I've got it memorized by now, but we developed a format with some plaintiff attorney clients. I said, what do you want to know? And they just gave me bullet points. So we put it into a format, which I follow religiously because it keeps me on track, keeps me on script, and allows it does kind of keep the witness from, going off into rabbit holes.
Yeah, and you're protecting yourself, obviously, because I have had that happen as well, right? And it was great because the guy perjured himself. So it was fantastic. It wasn't a phone conversation. It was, one of these door knocks where I don't know what's going to happen when I'm going in. I don't know if the person's going to sign a statement, but New York being a one-party state, I can record it, right? So
sure.
I go and I record it and I tell the guy who I am, who I work for, why I'm there, very specific as to why I'm doing that. And the guy actually, they were using me for trial. So I was there and they had the guy on first.
Okay.
And basically they had him on and he's like, investigator never said who he was, blah, blah, blah. They painted his whole picture and the attorney's just letting the guy hang himself. Right. And then he finishes up and they bring me up and then they play the audio. They have me do it and then they play the audio behind it.
Oops.
Like, Your Honor, we'd like to call the witness back onto stage, for redirect. And it's like, would you like to change what you just testified to?
We just finished a trial in federal court and it was misery. It was never mind. But one witness had been I had tried to contact her and she left a voicemail. And I'm working for a criminal defense attorney. So I just want you to know that I'm not going to do anything to help the defense because, blah, blah, blah. I mean, she just hung herself on her bias. So, but then she left it for me in a voicemail.
Yeah.
So we were able to provide that to the attorney to demonstrate to the jury that she wasn't necessarily impartial.
Right.
So the recording can go both ways.
It can. Definitely. The same thing with video statements here, because now you're adding the whole specter of facial expressions, right? So, that's a very big thing when, you have somebody who for a living will look at someone's facial expressions as they're answering things and they're saying, oh, look, the eyes are moving this way or, they're doing some weird look they're obviously lying or like this kind of stuff. And it creates a whole nother, almost like 4D
complexity,
right? Yeah. It's no longer 3D now; it's 4D. We're going a step further into it. The one thing I want to say before we jump into that is the question of when you're calling somebody on a cell phone number to do a statement, and the cell phone number is an out-of-state number,
right?
But you're in state and you're in a one-party state, but you're calling a telephone number that's a two-party state number.
Sure.
You got to be really careful, right? Because you don't know where that person is. So when I'm doing that, I always hey, I'm Matt. This is what I'm calling it. Hey, are you here in New York or are you somewhere else? That's the first thing they say.
Where are you, by the way?
Okay, boom. Then I hit record and okay, like I said, my name is Matt.
We're good to go.
Right? So it's like using the Jedi mind trick, but they don't even why is this guy asking me for, I'm here in New York. Why are you asking? And it's like being able to do that. So you never assume anything is basically the point that I'm making. You got to try and do it. So, all right. So getting into this whole video statement thing, right? So COVID hits, right?
Right.
Shelter in place, folks aren't allowed to work. You can't get out there. We still got to find a way to get work done and generate. And the opportunity comes up with Zoom. Everybody starts Zooming. Not many people had heard about Zoom or knew what Zoom was or any of the other, it's not just Zoom because there are a couple different platforms that are out there.
Sure. Yeah.
Teams, I think, is another one. Like, not many people have
Teams, WebEx, the whole,
WebEx, right. Yeah. They all stink as far as I'm concerned, by the way. Not many people knew what that was or how to use it. But then, there's this, okay, well, we have the opportunity now to get this done and do it. But, I got to come up to speed and figure out, I got to learn how to use this. Right.
Sure.
And then I got to make sure that the way I'm doing this is something that will be admissible in court later on.
Exactly.
Those were some serious challenges. So tell me your experience a little bit about how that unfolded for you and what you did.
Well, we have done video interviews in the past, particularly with overseas witnesses or witnesses who were, out of state and unavailable. We had one girl we actually interviewed in Australia. We got up at 2:00 in the morning. She actually agreed to, and this is another component, she agreed to be interviewed. And I don't even think we were able to record the interview at that time. This is 4 or 5 years ago. But obviously, as FaceTime and Zoom, WebEx have become more robust with the recording capabilities, we had a couple of attorneys ask us, can you get a Zoom interview? Yeah. And as you and I were discussing early on in the conversations, the additional level of complexity, because I should lay out, first of all, in all these interviews that we do, I'm getting a phone number from a database, TLO. Down here, the crash reports that we get the officers do not ordinarily include a phone number for the witness. So I got to do a little data search, come up with a phone. I call it dialing for dollars. I just dial the phone numbers listed until I connect. Just simple. And then I get them once I'm able to get them on the phone, you got to play. Sometimes you got to leave a message. Sometimes they call you're playing phone tag. So it could be 2 or 3 attempts once you get a number to get the witness on the phone. And then I utilize I have a phone system. I use a recorder, a digital recorder this is a Philips Speech Air. I've got a hookup to my telephone. So I'm just recording them to my phone. And I just call it dialing for dollars. Yeah. But it's always at the witness's convenience.
Sure.
So when the attorneys asked if I would be willing to take Zoom interviews, I said, well, first of all, they've got to be willing to set an appointment. Yep. I've got to schedule it, send them a Zoom invite. Yep. The recording isn't that difficult because, you just hit record here and you're able to record it. You get the audio and the video track. So that wasn't the problem. The problem was witness cooperation.
Yeah. And, also they got to be computer savvy, right? They got to have an email. If they don't have an email, you can't do it. Right.
You got you got a 75-year-old, you got a 75-year-old witness who saw a rollover. Well, are they going to be able to get Zoom? Or are they going to have to get their kids over there to set them up on a Zoom call? Yeah. Yep. So I let the attorneys know that, if the witness is willing, and in the situations we had, the witness was cooperative, and they actually wanted the recording, the video and audio recording for a mediation. Now, probably the same with you. Most of our attorneys here in Florida simply want a typed transcript of a recorded statement, just so they can present it to the adjuster and establish liability.
So here's one of the other issues. It's a big problem. When you're interviewing somebody over the phone, you schedule an appointment to go meet with them. You're actually drafting the statement. You're never almost never anyways, asking that person in their own handwriting to write something out. Right? So you have the ability to edit context. right? So if you're working for a certain side and there's something that's kind of damaging, you can put it in there, but you can put it in a way that's going to be less damaging, right? And a savvy investigator knows how to do that, right?
Yes.
You know, and you're not preventing the truth. You're kind of just masking a little bit, you know, or lessening the blow, right?
Sure.
You lose that ability when you're having a video interview or
an audio. If you're audio recording it, you also lose that ability. Yeah. Because if you produce a transcript of what they say,
right,
it can be a problem. This I find more frequently in criminal defense cases,
right,
than I do in civil cases.
Right. Oh, I never said that. Well, actually, you did. You know, it's like, you know,
right there.
And then they play it for him. I was like, is that true or not? Yes, it's true. Okay. You know, maybe you just remember a certain way. So yeah, I mean, you do get that specter, but I think you get more of it now, especially if you're showing it to a jury, because not only are they hearing the words, they're seeing the facial expressions.
Correct.
That goes a really, really long way in animating something and just, you know, relating it, right? So if I'm a juror and I'm looking at Mark and he's telling me something and there's passion in his eyes and he's got the Italian thing going, he's got his hands going, he's this and that. It's like, wow, this guy's like, he really feels strongly that way.
That's right.
As my hands going up and down, like he really feels strongly about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I believe he believes that that's what it is, you know, whereas
in Zoom, there's no mask either. They're not feeling obligated to be masked, which is a huge impact in trial work and in depositions. The masks just complicate everything. You're not getting an authentic read. So the Zoom just makes that element a little bit more, facilitates that a little better.
So here's the other thing. If you want to really start getting crazy about this stuff, let's now, as a juror, start looking at this. I'm interviewing Mark, right? Yeah. And I'm hearing what Mark's saying, but I'm looking at what's around. Oh, look at that poster in the background. Ooh,
yeah.
Those books there. This guy's smart. He's got books all over the place. He knows what he's talking about, right? So your background now is influencing, subliminally, you know, the person who's
creating some talking. It is creating some bias.
Yeah. So it's
a better reflection of your witness,
right?
Yeah,
or not,
or not.
You know, you could have some real crazy stuff.
There's a row of beer cans in the back over there, you know,
right? Or there's some illicit drugs hanging out all over the place. Hey, look, the guy's got a bong in the back, you know, like there's nothing. Right?
You're gonna know about it. You're gonna, and the plaintiff attorney needs to know that as well. Your clients need to know what their witnesses are doing. As I said, for most of the 9 out of 10, maybe even 99 times out of 100, the simple recorded statement is sufficient. But when you're coming to mediation, when you're coming to trial work, and you have that opportunity to see the witness in his or her natural environment, I mean, it's because you and I mean, how many doors have you knocked on, man, in your career?
Oh God, thousands.
You go into someone's house. And it's just, this is what drew me to the profession, was going to people's houses. I missed that in COVID.
Yeah.
Just going to the door, knocking on the door and seeing what's in there. And people invite you in. I just remember there was a private investigator named Erwin Bly, who Nick Pileggi wrote a book called A Bly Private Eye back in the 70s. Oh. That's the book that motivated me to become a private investigator.
But you name dropping with Mr. Pileggi, right? He's
absolutely
very famous writer.
He wrote that book, and knocking on doors and seeing what's happening when you're inside, and they offer you something to drink, you always take it. Can I offer you some water? And it comes in and it's, there's like a roach leg in the bottom of the cup, and you just take it. But you're right there. You're in their homes, and you can communicate to the lawyer what they're dealing with. Because in depositions or in trial, you don't see the witness in his or her natural environment.
You ever been to a hoarder's house?
Say what?
You ever been to the home of a hoarder?
Oh, yes.
I have. Yeah, I have. With like
you try and step through the
6-inch path to walk to sit on stuff that's
a path. There's always a path. Yeah.
And my wife says the same thing. Like, don't ever bring your work bag into the house. Because I don't know what you're bringing.
My wife says that about my workout bag. Yeah, workout bag into the bedroom here. It smells like a
work. And one of the things that always amazed me, sitting in people's houses, and you go and you look and you go, how do people live this way? Like, you don't even have a dining table. Like, you don't even sit down and eat together. Like, this is crazy.
I know, how do you do this? Or there's no furniture, or the furniture that they have, it's mismatched, or it's from the 60s or whatever. But you know what? That's real life.
Yeah,
that's real life. And when you're in someone's living room, you're in his or her natural environment.
Yeah,
and it was a little dicey doing it because we had some cases. I had to go do some personal interviews during COVID. It was a little dicey, but you know what? I didn't feel like I could wear a mask.
Yeah.
They were in their home. I was a guest, and
I did a lot of outdoor interviews.
A lot of, but people wanted you to come in. Yeah. They hadn't seen anybody. No one had knocked at their doors. This is not all the time. Some of them were a little leery, but we would sit outside and said, do you mind if I take my mask off? No, nobody really wanted the mask on to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So it was just a weird time. You know.
Yeah, and even going back to the video aspect of it, another challenge with people or challenger or plus would be, you know, someone who was in the hospital and you needed to interview that person. You need them to sign documents or whatever, so an attorney can represent them. We weren't allowed into hospitals.
No.
Yeah, and even now, like, I don't allow my staff to go to hospitals now. I'll probably lift it another week or two because they're softening mandates. But you know, like when Omicron hit, like I had to say, okay, going forward, we are no longer going to nursing homes or hospitals, you know, until further notice.
Yeah,
and having the ability for someone to get onto a Zoom and do DocuSign, to sign documents, was a game changer for me. It kept me in business. You know, we were able to,
because you do a lot of signups, don't you?
Do a lot of signups, yeah.
So, you know, I could never figure out a way to make it cost effective.
Okay, so this is a good question. I'm glad you're bringing that up because it is something to cover. And I up until recently, I never had to deal with it, but I did have an attorney question like, "Wow, you billed me this." I didn't bill him the same amount as we usually go out to do, but I did bill him something similar to it. He goes, wow, I thought it'd be like much cheaper. And I'm like, listen, I got to pay my people an honest wage, and I got to pay them like they're doing the work and they're doing the reports behind it. And there's a lot of uploading and downloading and going through the documents. When someone doesn't have documents in front of them or they don't know how to use DocuSign, like understand that it's going to take an hour. You may think that, we're just going to go do this stuff, but it's going to take an hour, you know? Yeah, there's no travel time, but then you also got to figure in the cost of the software, you know, and other expenses that come in, the time of downloading and uploading and doing all this other stuff with the file now itself. Like, I can't really give you a discount, you know, like I'm going to knock a little bit off, but, you know, I got to eat and stay in business too, you know? So
it costs what it costs.
So as soon as I said that, he was like, "Okay, I get it." Like, and
they're not stupid.
One attorney ever said anything, right? So that was a decision I had to make, right?
Yeah.
When we were shut down, it's like, what do I charge for this, right? Because we're not going out in the field and doing that, and that's what I came down to. Like, I'll knock a couple bucks off, but I'm not giving a huge discount because there is a lot of time and effort that goes into that, and there is subscriptions that you're paying now. I mean, it's minimal when you break it down to all the work that you actually do, but it's there. You know, there's more,
and it's a cost, and you're in business like they are in business now. They're going to get 33% of perhaps a $100,000 settlement. You're going to get your hourly rate. So I don't feel bad for the plaintiff attorneys because without the documents, without the work we did, they wouldn't have a case and they wouldn't have a settlement.
Yeah.
So I understand the role that we play.
That's one of the other things to take into consideration here when we talk about, you know, taking video statements is the ability to make it affidavit, right?
Yes.
So in New York,
what do you mean by an affidavit?
So it was a temporary order where we were allowed to notarize documents or like notarize statements via online. Like so basically via DocuSign. So we have this meeting you and I have, and then I draft a statement and I email the statement via DocuSign to somebody and they sign it and get it back to me. So the way the temporary order was set up was we have our meeting and I have 24 hours to send that person documents to sign and get back to me, you know?
Okay.
And it's like I was in front of them. You know, the one thing was they had to be able to say, recorded online, I am in the state of New York, you know, and I have to be in the state of New York. So as long as both parties are in the state of New York, they were allowing you to do an affidavit via, Zoom or one of the other ones, and it would be admissible.
Okay.
Right? They wouldn't have to stipulate later on that, oh yeah, we'll accept it. No, this is an emergency order. So that emergency order was made a permanent order probably about a month ago.
Wow.
So
okay. So now this is how it's going to be from now on.
Free game, right? So attorneys, when they do depositions, they can actually use those, right? They're setting the table for this whole electronic, world here that's going to replace the ability or the need to actually go to court, right?
Right.
You'll never have the trial virtually. I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, I agree.
But like hearings, it's going to happen. It is happening.
Oh, yeah. Calendar calls, hearings, status checks, the whole legal process is going to be streamlined by video.
So here's why it's going to happen and why it needs to continue to happen. You've essentially lost a year worth of time with courts being shut down. Yeah. There is such a tremendous backlog on these cases. In order to give somebody due process, they got to do it. They're
going to expedite it any way that they can.
Any way they can. The judges love it. The attorneys love it because they can do 4 or 5 of these a day and not have to worry about travel time.
Oh my gosh. Or going to the different courts. Can you imagine all the travel they did going to the different courts?
And it's so crazy because I share office space in Manhattan with an attorney who's a good friend of mine. And he's doing these sometimes and I can hear, like he's in his office and I can just hear it. And the attitudes of, hey, I got a really important call coming in on a settlement case. Like, I'm going to need to take a break for like 5 minutes. And everyone's like, yeah, sure. Okay. No problem. And it's like, wow, if you tried to do that in a court reporting office, nobody would ever let that happen. Let's take a 5-minute reset. No, you can't do it. But now everyone's like, yeah, sure. No problem. Let me just turn off the cat filter and make sure, I don't have that guy.
Cat filter.
So it's here to stay, I think.
Yeah. It is. And I'm glad to have it. It has facilitated it. I still think that there is an element of the human connection that private investigators will always fill. Attorneys can do depositions and hearings, right? But field work is always going to be in the venue of the private investigator. Yeah. Somebody has to go locate these people. Somebody has to get an eye on them. Somebody has to go talk to them in their natural environment. Yeah. It isn't going to be this three levels of separation here. Somebody has to go meet the witness. Somebody has to go to the scene where the crash took place or the crime took place. Somebody has to have the boots on the ground. Yeah. And that's always going to be where you and I are going to be filling that need.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story here is this technology is here. It's not going anywhere. And it's just another tool. It's not going to replace anything. No. It's always going to be a need to do all that in-person stuff, but it's just another
tool in the
opportunity.
Toolbox.
Yeah, another tool in the shameless plug, right?
Which I love. Your toolbox is completely unique, my friend. That's excellent stuff.
Thank you. It's not going anywhere. And, embrace it, learn how to use it to your advantage. Right. Yes. I've had situations too where it's just like, oh man, the person's not available or they're leaving tomorrow. And then they're the only time they have is like right now. Yeah. Well, I can't get somebody there right now, but I can jump online and we can do, a video portion of it. Okay. Law says we can do a statement, and it's notarized. Like, okay, let's do it. And I'm able to get the job done at the end of the day.
Do you remember it's a new tool? Do you remember I don't know if you remember this when BlackBerries came out, when we went from flip phones to BlackBerries?
Yeah, the tracking ball, just twist the ball.
I found that to be probably the most important technological leap for me to make because I was very old school, still a little old school. But once I figured out the BlackBerry, I thought, wow, I can learn how to do this. Yeah. This is simply another tool of innovation, of communication. It's not a replacement, but it is a tool. Yeah. And by using it wisely, the investigators can do very, very well for themselves.
I was more of a Trio guy. Yeah, I liked the little stylus pen. Yeah, I didn't like the ball. Tracking ball always broke.
Man, I had the first Palm Pilot.
Yeah. Yeah,
the first Palm
I think it's what
Pilots.
Trio was through Palm Pilot. I think, if I remember. Yeah.
Now I'm dating myself.
We're all dating ourselves here. This is a good place to end. So-
It is. Before I go back to my high school years back
Exactly.
in the
Mark,
1600s.
this was great. I feel like we could talk much longer on this subject, but at least just broaching it a bit and talking about things to know and the ethics behind it, and just making sure that you're taking advantage of everything you can and learn how to embrace it. I appreciate you coming on and just riffing with this stuff. And if folks want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh man, visit our website, completelegalinv.com. We also have a site at theprofitablepi.com for our manuals and information there. And you can always follow us on YouTube at Investigator. Just Google it on YouTube, Investigators in Cars Drinking Coffee. I'm on Complete Legal NV on Twitter. I don't think I've got personal stuff. I'm always on LinkedIn too at Mark Murnan. So MUR like Murphy, NAN like Nancy. So hook us up, look us up, and we'll be following you guys back as well.
Yeah, definitely. And what part of Florida are you in?
We are in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida,
Fantastic.
home of the Honda Classic. We're about 10 miles north of West Palm Beach, about an hour north of Fort Lauderdale, and a couple hours north of Miami. The Gold Coast.
Awesome. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We're pretty much done here, and this was great. And I appreciate everyone
Really
coming on and checking this out, and definitely reach out to Mark if you have any questions. So everybody have a good week, and we'll catch everyone next week on the next episode. Take care.
Thanks to Mark for talking with Matt about this very interesting topic. Here's a little known fact. We Don't Need No Stinking Badges originates from the 1935 book and 1948 movie, The Treasure of Sierra Madre. Blazing Saddles is just one of the many movies to borrow that famous line, and we used it for educational purposes only, just in case they come for us, Matt.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
We also want to thank Crosstracks, JT Palmer, Satellite Investigations, PI Institute for Education, and CGA for sponsoring the show. Please support our great supporters. Now, have you thought about joining the Investigators Toolbox yet? Now's the time to do so. Get on board and join the fastest growing digital community for investigative professionals. Use code PIP201836 to save 10% on membership. If you have a question or a comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We want your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back next week with a new show. Make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.